Super Mario Brothers was the greatest video game ever invented. Now, as an adult, body-wise, I'm still a child at mine, I don't play video games anymore. But people who were kids in the 80s when the first Nintendo Entertainment System came out, NES, and it had Mario Brothers 1 with it, know what a breakthrough concept this amazing game was. And I played it about 5 years ago, still as an adult. It is still awesome. While it might not have had the graphics or the storyline, to me, it is the best game of all time. So today, we're looking at a custom statue that represents that entire franchise. You didn't figure that out by the thumbnail or the title? As the Extreme channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, welcome to the Extreme channel. My name is Mr. X. Today we're looking at a custom statue. So this is obviously from the Mario Brothers world, and I have to apologize to you guys up front. So I grew up with Super Mario 1. I will never forget the day we got the Nintendo. My parents weren't well off. We had like all of our relatives who lived elsewhere in the country pitch in and were able to get us a Nintendo. And I think at the time it was like $100, which was a ton of money to us. And obviously it came with Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt. And I fell in love with Super Mario Brothers. I remember the nostalgia when Super Mario 2 came out, and then Super Mario 3, and that's about the extent of my knowledge, which is why I'm apologizing. And also with that, while I played the game for countless and countless hours over and over again, and as I said in the intro, I have recently, I don't know all of these characters. So I need your help today. As I do the review, I'm going to go across some of the characters. If you know their names, throw it in the comments below, because that comment could also win you a statue. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Okay, so Super Mario Brothers, if you're unfamiliar with what that is and you're watching this, it means you're stalking me, which excites me a little bit, but also scares me. Unless you're like really hot, then it's more exciting than scary. But it is a franchise of video games that has had so many different spin-offs and spawn-offs, and I actually own 2 other statues from the Super Mario world. These are by a licensed company, first 4 figures. First, you can see they're Mario and Yoshi right here. And they're a different scale. We're going to talk about scales in a second, but then they have their Bowser. And I am keeping those on top of this new one that I have because I think both are phenomenal. And like I said, this obviously represents a lot more characters. Over a dozen characters are in this diorama. Now, I'm not sure what scale this is because honestly, Mario was on screen. We've never really seen him in real life, although I guarantee there's some weird statistic on the internet on how tall he would be. But Mario is a plumber with his brother Luigi, and they get sucked into this world where they have to save Princess Peach because Bowser keeps kidnapping her for bestiality purposes, or I honestly don't know why, because let's face it, she's not that attractive, nor are most fictional characters. But what I love about this is it encompassed everything about those games in that franchise, with the exception of a racing car. So there's no Mario Kart on here, but I do have a Mario Kart on order. You can check it out right here. This should come later this year. Another good reason, if you like stuff like this, make sure you've not only liked this video, but you subbed to the channel and you've hit that bell notification. So as I said, T-Studio made this, and it's a custom. I don't believe they have the license for it, so they made a small run. We'll talk more about that later. But let's start with the concept, which is what really makes this amazing. Like I said, they encompass so many different parts of the game on the front and the back. I'm going to try and cover them all as we move up. So first, you have the grassy knoll that we always see Mario running on, at least in the initial stages. And the characters are everywhere. Characters from the stars he catches, the flowers that give him flower power, the flowers that try and eat him, Mario, Yoshi, Toad, Princess Peach, the question mark boxes that actually give you the power-ups, Goomba. That's just on the first layer. And then as you move up even further, the second layer, you have the castle. At the sub-end of every 4 levels or so, you would actually go into the castle to fight a dragon, not Bowser, but one of his minions, I believe, at least in Super Mario 1. And he is sitting there. You see the flag next to him. You always got to bring the flag down before you go in. You see Boo, the clouds that come after you. There's the cloud, and I don't know the name of this character, but the little turtle that throws shit at you from above. And by the way, we missed one of the turtles on the ground, and I had to look up his name. It was Koopa Troopa. Then Luigi is ready to hit Bowser from behind, and another one of those boo clouds that always came after you, and he's holding a character I don't know. It actually looks like Toad, so I'm assuming he's associated with Toad somehow, but I haven't seen him, and I did a brief search online and couldn't find him. Everything you want to encompass about this franchise is in here. At least for a nostalgic player like me, it has all the original characters, plus some from like Super Mario 2 and Super Mario 3 and some of the offshoots. I absolutely love it. I love that they have the power-ups. Would have been cool to see a big mushroom, I think. That's really the only thing missing from the concept. And if they could have made one of these blocks as levitating, even though that would have made it better, I still think it's a 5 out of 5 on the concept. Really cool, unique that they did it, and it all fits together well. With some exception, which we're going to talk about in the design. So I talked about scale earlier. Scale is, okay, if it's 1/6, that means it's 6 times smaller than a real-life version. If I had to guess, I would probably say this is about 1/8 or so. But let's measure it. Nice thing about this, even with all these characters, it doesn't take up that much room. It's a little over 13 inches wide and about the same on the depth. And the tallest part is just under 23 inches. So it'll fit in most display cabinets. Now with that, I am going to put them next to those other Super Mario pieces. I'm worried how bad that'll scale. If you want to see what that looks like, check out the Extreme Channel social media. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Twitter. The link for those is in the description below. But while you're doing that, I will show you the unboxing and assembly because there were a crap load of parts. All those pieces were in one large box that had an outer shipper and an art box in the middle. I didn't look at the sides, but it came in black foam. They used tape, which is always a pain in the ass, especially if you ever reship it. 2 layers. And I thought this was a lot of pieces until I opened the second layer and I found all of these. So as you saw, wasn't the easiest to assemble, partially because I didn't have directions. And look at how many things are connected to another thing that's connected to another thing that's connected to another thing that's connected to another thing. Whenever you have that, I definitely have issues. While nothing is super loose, you saw it turning around fine, there's nothing wiggling right here, I do worry about leaning issues over time. While this isn't incredibly heavy, it does have some weight to it. Now, it's really hard to judge a statue on this will have leaning issues. Nobody really knows, but it is a worry that I have. Otherwise, I'm really impressed how everything fit together, and I can't find really any big flaws with the design. I like how you have good visual angles of every single character from the front. I wish they would have incorporated this star somewhere else instead of as a proximity piece. And when I was putting it together, it didn't have the traditional snug tightness that you see in a lot of like the licensed statues that are out there. But like I said, it's not so loose where I'm worried something's going to happen. So I think because it's elaborate, I give them a little more leeway when they try and go really elaborate, and they pulled it off. I think I have to give the design a 5 out of 5. It is really impressive. Now, like I said, this might have leaning issues over time. That would obviously downgrade the score. Paint and sculpt, this is where it's going to depend on your viewpoint and what you want. So remember, this is a 2D animation that they've brought to real life in a 3D sculpture. There's not going to be a lot of texture or micro detail or things of that nature, but that's how they were on screen. And also kind of comparing these to some of those first 4 figure pieces I have, just so you know, I think the paint and sculpt is better on those, which you kind of typically see in a resin piece like this. But check it out. So I have a lot of light shining on this, but hopefully that can help show, hopefully help. I don't even know what I'm saying. we can really see the details or lack thereof. So let's start with the bottom. As I said, very reminiscent to the actual video game. And it actually has almost like all these small transparent holes, translucent holes in them. It almost makes me think this should have been a light up feature. All of those. I'm not sure the purpose. I assume they did it because it's video game accurate, but it looks fine. It looks like a layered cake almost, but again, that's what the video game looked like. I do think they did a nice job on the greenery, not necessarily the green on the bottom that's just almost like straight with planks, but the leaves look good. Folded over, each one is a little bit different shape. They had the same shading down the middle of each one. Looks fine. I really like the vegetation bases that First Four Figures does. And then you have the classic green tube. Now, this one I think looks good. You can't really change it. That's what it was in the video game. Right here, the castle looks fine. Again, very cartoonish, almost amateurish. I am having so many problems today, and I haven't even started drinking yet. Maybe that's my problem. But I like how they have the Bowser bracelet / collar on the bottom of the castle to insinuate it's his castle. The flag is a fully sculpted flag, but it still looks like it's flowing. There's a little bit of movement to it. I really like that. This is not a metal pole. It's still polystone. Here's the star. Again, I wish they would have put it somewhere else. I like that they included the coin. We really didn't talk about that. The eyes are protruding a little bit. Very toyish, amateurish. And God, I can't even say it. And you see that on these flowers as well. Same exact design. Now the characters, we could sit here and talk about them for hours, but I'm just going to kind of show some video and give my overall thoughts. Like I said, not a lot of detail in the faces, so you're not going to see a lot of indentations or anything, and that's either A, because they meant to do that to try and follow the video game, or B, they were incapable of adding that level of detail. And still a few things off with the paint, like you see the different shading on Mario that looks kind of weird. Almost like they covered up his eyes with tape and then painted over it. And it may be decals for her eyes right there and Bowser's eyes. And you see a lot of the same moving up through each character. The paint is decently clean though, where it divides into a different color. I think that's very clean. I like how there's a little bit of a moist effect on the tongue of the flower, make it a little more menacing. The box really has that cubicle, not a cubicle you sit in, but a cube-like feeling to it of something he would bash with his head. And even though Yoshi's green, the ground's green, and the flower tube is green, it still mixes very well with the rest of the colors. Like the spikes on Bowser's back look okay, almost like dirty teeth to an extent. His hair flows a little bit, but again, no detail in it, or his eyebrows. The inside of his mouth would have been cool if he was breathing fire, I think. Even look at Princess Peach's dress. Very basic shading on it. I do, again, appreciate how clean the actual paint is, even though they used a lot of decals. And there's a lot of good contrast, even like this red right here, a more of a matte red to a shiny red. Some details in the gloves. The clouds look pretty good in the ghosts. You know, it's hard to make painted polystone in white. White and fire is really hard to do, but I think it looks decent. Very billowy. The tongue on the boo here is a different color, and I like how they painted the back of the mouth black. It looks like it's truly coming out of something. Little toadstool right there. Toad down below, his mouth open. So really, it's incredibly hard to capture the essence of the paint and sculpt of this. It's definitely not bad, but I wouldn't put it as exceptional either. But again, I know I keep going back to this. Was that intentional? Whether or not I still think that the grades will be the same. The amount of colors they used, I think, was fantastic. I like that it wasn't just bland. They did offer some of the shading we talked about. But I think at best, the paint is a 3 out of 5. The variety, I think, really helps it. 3 out of 5 means you get what you pay for. It's not amazing. Sculpt, not bad either. Like I said, I think they really captured the characters. There's no question of who's who. But again, not a lot of that in-depth detail we're used to seeing, so I think it's a 3 out of 5 on my scale as well. Again, 3 not being a bad score. So is this piece worth it? What's the value on a piece like this? Now, I paid $561 all in. It took about a month to get here. That's not bad for a resin statue with so many characters, so much going on, and they only made 88 of these. So I think that's a pretty strong value. You know, I saw someone else post a picture of this on a social media, and I was like, wow, I need to find that. It was pretty easy because it had the T Studio name. I was able to purchase it from a store I never had before, and I think it's a really strong value. And I think there might be a few different versions of these, but again, it's harder to find information on it. I don't know if this is like the deluxe version with the extra proximity piece, and I apologize for that, but you know what? If you're watching this, it means you know how to use Google. In fact, that might be how you found me. But anyway, I think the value is a 4 out of 5. Very cool piece, without a doubt. So does this have the X factor? Is this a 5 out of 5 statue? No, it's not. I think you can't have one that has ordinary paint and sculpt be that high, although it does rarely happen. But I think that it is a 4 out of 5 statue overall. It is very cool. Amazing concept. They pulled it off. Everything works well together. I'm a big fan of this piece. What do you think? Do you like this one better or first 4 figures better? Throw that down in the comments below. I appreciate your comments. It could win you a statue. But thanks for tuning in overall. I really appreciate it. Hit that like button. It's free and easy. And if you like stuff like this, make sure you sub to the channel. I really appreciate you guys watching. I say that every time, but I really mean it. Talk to you soon. Take care.